I'm always wondering what makes an adult to pick up a crochet hook or a set of needles and learn some new set of skills for them. My next guest says that crochet is the act of transferring the knots inside of you out. Stay tuned and meet Dot. Hi, welcome to Fiberchats. My name is Irina, I'm the host here. My guest today comes from Singapore, Dot, from, let me try to pronounce it the way you named it, Launshae. That's the name of the company, right? Well, let's talk about that name. How did you come up with that? Because I've heard there's an interesting story.
Whoa, yeah. It started when I was just a little kid. I used to like doing drawings and paintings, and then I would sign them off. And somehow this word just came to mind, Launshae, and then I would write that. I think mostly, probably because I was trying to make my art seem more important than it was, like as if like this famous artist did it. Yeah. Just over the years as I grew up, and then when I revisited art again, somehow, interestingly, I still managed to remember this name. And then, so yeah, I continued using it, continued pretending, yeah, and putting it up to today.
Well, I'll tell you what caught my eye. So I stumbled on your account on Instagram, and there's a lot of very colorful crocheters out there. So that's not like what makes you unique. What really caught my attention was like the thought process behind each piece you create. And that was somehow like, I remember the first piece I saw was the jacket about COVID, with the plus side on it. And you went into explaining like all the colors and what it meant to you and all the uncertainty, and how the fact that you didn't finish the bottom edging of it was because there is no end inside. And it just like struck me as like there is so much thought put into that design. Tell me like how do you come up with those ideas? How
Well, first of all, thank you so much for noticing. Yeah, I really appreciate that. I think for me, it normally just starts from how I feel. And so much of that is based on the world around us. Like things like COVID coming along, and then having a lot of feelings, like perhaps it's a daunting situation. Like we try our best to protect ourselves. We go for vaccinations and boosters, but somehow like COVID always seems to come out strong. It comes out really quickly, quicker than the vaccinations with a new mutation. Yeah, and things like that could leave one feeling really disheartened. So with so much of these heavy feelings, maybe what comes naturally to me is to express it in terms of the art that I'm currently interested in, which is crochet. Yeah, so I think it just became a natural outlet for me to like dump my feelings. And yeah, and then in terms of the process, I think selecting the yarn, thinking roughly about the design, yeah, I think that would all try to fit in to what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, is there first an idea that you're trying to express, and then you're thinking like what yarn would go with that and what designs would go with that? Or do you have the image of, let's say, a garment, and then you're thinking, well, what does it represent?
I think the central feeling or idea would probably come first. Like in the case of that cardigan you mentioned, it was a feeling of SOS, help, we really need help as humanity. Yeah, and then I think in that case, just the symbol of the plus sign came to mind, and followed by that, I would normally go to my yarn stash and think of which yarns best convey those feelings. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned somewhere that for you, crochet is the act of, and I'm quoting you, of transferring the knots from inside out. Why crochet? Like, I mean, you a multi-talented artist, you try all different mediums. I saw you doing some embroidery, you doing all different kind of mediums and on as painting. Why crochet? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, I think it starts off because I'm a very why kind of person, like WHY. I like to question things. So when I'm crocheting, and I noticed that, like you said, I love trying different things and hopping around, but why have I been so mesmerized by crochet? I've been doing it for like quite a long time for my standards. Yeah, and I noticed that sometimes after I've had a stressful day and then I come home, like the first thing I want to do is to crochet. And then it made me wonder why. And I thought it was quite like metaphorical and yet quite literal, that crochet is the act of creating knots with the hook. And yeah, like it seems as if the knots in my stomach are being transferred out by the act of this unwinding, and then it comes out into a piece. So it feels as if I've taken my anxieties and worries from inside me and out. Yeah.
Well, I noticed like with your particular garments and stuff, there is a lot of squares that you then connect into the garments. When you start with those squares, is there like the final design idea in your head, or do you sometimes just do different squares and then think of what to make out of them?
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's true that there are a lot of squares. No wonder why about that as well. But I do know that the first garment I made with lots of squares, that one was because I was trying to learn crochet. And so I just thought, oh, maybe a good way to learn would be to try a different square for a different stitch. That way I can get to learn lots of stitches. Yeah, so in the end, I put that together. But I think generally speaking, my process is a bit haphazard, so that there isn't a very clear vision, although I wish there was. So I tend to create things that seem interesting to me, and then later try to think of a way of how to put them together. But probably I have a rough idea that, okay, this one, I think I want to be a garment, but I'm not sure exactly how I can join them together, or maybe what it would even look like in the end.
Well, tell me how you learn crochet. Like, what was your process? Where did you find the information? How did you learn the techniques?
So just, I'm not sure if this is relevant, but the first encounter I had with crochet, hook, and yarn was when I was in primary school. It's just my friends in class, we had a lot of free time, so they were just showing me how to do it. And through that, I learned the chain stitch, but probably not so much more than that. But it was more recently, about 1.5 years ago, that I think I kind of picked up crochet for real. It was when we have this hot water bottle with a cover that was causing some skin irritation, and there was quite a unique size of a bottle. So I think it would have been hard to get a replacement of just the cover, and so I don't really. I try to minimize the waste I create. So I thought, rather than getting an entire new set of bottle and cover, like, would it be possible for me to make one myself? So I just happened to have a box of yarn. It's hand me down from my sister, and then I remembered like crochet. So I just wondered if it would be possible to crochet a hot water bottle. And that's when I started going to learn, mostly through YouTube, which I'm so grateful for. Yeah.
I mean, I saw that water bottle cover and it's not that simple. Like there is a lot of colors mixed up. There's like a lot of different stitches are there. There's pretty unique shaping. Was it difficult for you to figure it out because there's no pattern for it, I bet?
So I put it just here by the side as a prop. Maybe I could bring it up.
Sure.
If you look close, it's really wonky, and I'm just surprised that it even fit together in the end. It's always a surprise that it would work. Yeah, I think I didn't know what I was doing. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to luck that it even worked in the end. And I didn't know anything about yarn, so I used like a whole mixture of things that probably shouldn't go together. I just went based on color. Yeah.
Well, so like you started with that one box of yarn that you inherited from your sister. What's your yarn stash looks like now?
Oh, I have to say it looks quite neat at the moment. Because we live in quite a small space, just a small apartment, and like I have so many different interests over time, and all these build up to quite a bit of a collection. So if possible, I try to keep it quite organized. Like I have a few different boxes at the moment, and it's organized by the type of yarn, like a box full of cotton, acrylic. Yeah, I don't have wool, because not so much wool, because it's quite warm in Singapore.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there like a large crochet or knitting community in Singapore just because it's a warm country?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, is there a community versus the weather? Yeah, I think I feel like the community is quite big. There's Singapore Facebook group for knitters and crocheters, and I think it has about like 6,000 people. I consider that quite big. And it's really active. Like people are posting like all the time about what projects they've made. And I learned a lot from that group, especially in terms of material. Like when I first started, I would just get anything, like something called milk cotton and so on. And then it's through the group that I learned that there's certain yarn that is quite suitable for our weather, hot and humid. So mostly like cotton and rayon and things like that, and probably a thinner weight of yarn. So yeah, that was really useful in terms of the local context.
Well, I saw you test knitting a scarf for another guest of Fiberchats.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to like knit other people's patterns, or do you prefer to create your own things?
I would say that I really love both. I'm just generally really excited to make something new. But I'm quite slow. Like it takes me so long, like maybe a few months just to finish one piece. So I think if I really had to choose, if I had a choice, maybe I would make something like that came out of my own idea first. But it's not that I don't enjoy making other people's patterns, because there are so many beautiful ones out there.
Well, what attracts you in the pattern? Like when you see somebody else's pattern, is it about like some new to you technique, or is it the use of colors? Like what attracts you?
Yeah, I like techniques and concepts that I consider to be revolutionary. Like the one you mentioned, I think for Snapdragon brand. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, whoa, that's really groundbreaking. Like that's something I've never seen before, and it's amazing. It's like so bold, and yeah, so that's something I'm attracted to, and I would like to learn, like how did she even do that, and others, for example, I've seen like mosaic crochet jumper by Nomad Stitches. I would love to make that one day. That is so intricate, and I find it quite revolutionary as well. Like taking this motif of mosaic, which I think maybe is often used in things like blankets and pouches, but she does it in the round and making it into a garment. I think that's pretty mind-blowing, and it takes a lot of creativity and innovation to come up with that. So yeah, I think mostly concepts like these.
Well, talking about concepts, there is one concept that sort of intrigued me in your posts. So when you're talking about you and your partner, you always talk in terms of months. So there's like 50 months, it's 74 months. So today I was talking to my husband and I said, let's calculate how many months we are together. So we came with 351 months. So it's why months?
Awesome.
Because usually people talk about years. Why do you decide to use months?
Yeah, I think this one, I probably have to attribute it to my partner. We're really close, so a lot of our thinking, like a lot of the thinking she has becomes mine. We're in some ways almost the same person. So months, because we have this idea about time, that time is really, really, really precious, and we never take it for granted. We feel that the future is uncertain. There's no guarantee that if we enjoy like today together, that we still have tomorrow. I mean, especially because of the way the world is now with COVID and all the political uncertainty. Yeah, so we really cherish it each time that we get to spend another month together, and we use it as a reminder of how not to take each other for granted, even if not for the world out there, even just between us as two individuals. So much can change. Like people will change all the time, and you never know if you will continue to walk in the same path. And if you do diverge, then you also maybe should not force yourselves to stay together. So every extra month we get to spend together is a win, and we just like to over celebrate it, even if it gets really annoying. Yeah.
I love that. Well, you mentioned in some of your posts that it was your partner actually who pushed you to go back to drawing and to painting. And
yeah.
Tell me, like, why she thought it was important for you.
Wow. So first off, she's a person I think sees things really differently, really unconventional thinking, which is a real real insight. So quite long ago, when I was still in school, I used to take art classes, and I had this additional class, like an art elective, which means you spend additional hours just doing art instead of some other subjects. And so that was in school. I thought it was just a subject, and I forgot about it until I met my partner a few years ago. And then she's like, oh, how come you don't do art anymore? It sounds like you used to be really interested in it. And so she's the one who encouraged me to pick it up again. Like just totally encouraging me, and why don't you give it another go? And yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, just from that, it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Yeah, that's quite mind-blowing actually. So from there, I first started exploring things like drawing and painting, and I realized that I was really, really interested in it, and I had never stopped being interested in hindsight, now that I think about it. Yeah, and I'm so grateful that from there it was able to evolve into different things, and like even to today, crochet. Yeah.
Right.
That's how
Well, when I look at your paintings, they're very thought-provoking. They're not just like a pretty
oh,
landscape. Like each painting sort of has a story behind it. For example, you have one painting where there is a girl with the rainbow magnet in front of her, and you talk about how like different mood can pull you this way or that way, and that it's not because something is happening in your life, it's just like you can't even explain it, it's just your mood for the day.
oh,
Do you like when these ideas come to you,
mm.
do you have some sort of like diary of keeping them that you're gonna come back to it later? Do you like immediately run and start, sketching? How does that work?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for even seeing that piece and looking back enough. I'm really grateful. Yeah, ideas do pop into my head sometimes, and like I said, it's mostly driven by the feelings I'm having at the moment. Mostly quite overwhelming, and I need some outlet. Yeah, but if I'm not able to get to it to put them out onto paper immediately, I do try to like put a note of it somewhere. Like I have a journal on my phone that I write in every day with the app called Day One. And so, yeah, I would put the hashtag in the hashtag art idea so that if one day I've forgotten what ideas I have, but I really want to create something, then I can go back there and search for it.
I mean, does that happen a lot, that you like out of ideas and you have the creative block and you don't know what to do?
In a way, not so much, just because like I'm so interested in crochet now, and like I just spend so much time on crochet. It's not that I run out of time, that I need ideas to fill it up, but once in a while it does happen.
Does it happen with crochet, like that you finish a piece and you have no idea what to make?
Oh, quite like almost never, just because I'm so slow. Like yeah, well, I take months to do one, and while I'm making one, I have lots of new ideas to make, like new ideas to crochet, and so the ideas will naturally stack up much more than the time I have. Yeah.
Well, one of the pieces that you recently made was this vest for Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a striking piece. It's like very eye-catching. What was the reaction of your community, of your followers that saw that vest?
Maybe a bit of a mixed reaction, I think. Maybe I'll start with the local Facebook group, the Singapore one. I'm not sure if it's fair to say this, but I feel that the local community is more averse to like political messaging. Yeah, maybe a bit touchy, because some people might even feel, or I was given feedback by some people that like don't say these things, or even like don't support this country because of certain views they have, like all the political strings attached. So it was a bit surprising, because I don't think I've ever created anything controversial before. Then this was just a bit yeah. So I was a bit surprised, and a bit more careful in future, maybe whether I want to post these kinds of things in the group. As for Instagram, if I'm not wrong, I feel like fewer people were interested in this piece. I think maybe aesthetically it's not so pretty or not so colorful. So yeah, not as much interest. But then the thing is that when people left thoughtful comments, then I realized who these people that I really connect with and care are. And that was a great way to tell. And it's I really appreciate it when people saw it and resonated with it, or that maybe if it even encouraged more of us not to give up hope. Yeah, I felt that was quite meaningful. Yeah.
I mean, I disagree that it's anybody can dislike it visually. I think it's beautiful, and I think the colors are beautiful, and I think it's very eye-catching, and like it's definitely a political statement. But like that's the role of the artist, to take sides sometimes,
Yeah, totally agree. I need to work a lot on myself in terms of having the courage, in terms of being authentic. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're doing a wonderful job with that, because each piece of yours explains the thought process behind, educate your followers as to what you're trying to say. And I think you're doing a wonderful job with that.
Thank you so much. That is so encouraging. Thank you.
Well, let's talk about Instagram, Facebook, like all the social media. What's your relationship with it? Like, do you see it as your marketing tool? Do you see it as your group of friends? Like, what's your relationship with those?
I think I do see it as my friends or my community, because the people that I got to know through Instagram and Facebook are, I feel so much more attached and so much more interested in what they do in their lives than perhaps people I might know in real life. Yeah, actually, me and my partner, we are quite like hermits. we don't really have much of a social life. We're just mostly at home doing our own things. So the only interactions I have with people are through these platforms. Yeah, and I really, really appreciate it, because I feel I've gotten to know so many interesting people. Even if we're not like best friends, it's okay. I just enjoy following them and like seeing their lives, seeing their creativity. And I'm so inspired every time I open Instagram and see something new. I'm sure that those ideas somehow are imprinted in my memory, and I'm sure it somehow affects me in terms of what I create in the future.
Well, I mean, what influences your designs, like besides just the idea, right? Like as far as the shaping, as far as the like deciding on what it's gonna look like at the end, where do you think these inspirations come from?
Wow, I think it can come from really anywhere. Just like, for example, this thing I hung behind, it was inspired by the yarn. I think it's the first time I'm trying this kind of rainbow gradient. So I was just curious if I were to like make this thing, and then if I keep going on and on and on, like what would happen? It's just a curiosity. Like, how long would it become? Can I even like wear it as a dress and so on? And
do you wear the things that you make? Like, is everything you make part of your wardrobe?
Yeah, I do wear it, but only on special occasions. I think because I'm really practical and really lazy at the same time. So most of the time when I go out, because it's really hot, I just wear the same t-shirt and shorts like every day. And it looks like super shabby. And like when I meet my family, they're like, what, you wore this out? Yeah, but I like it because it saves me a lot of time and energy, because I don't have to think of what to wear. Like most of the time I'm just scrambling to like do some crochet until the last minute, and then I take 5 minutes to get ready and go out. So like all my focus is spent on the crochet or the art. Yeah, but I do quite like what I make. So I would wear it on special occasions, like maybe anniversaries and so on. Yeah.
Are your friends and your family, are like they very supportive of you dabbling in all the arts, or were they surprised that you started doing all of that?
So friends and families, they're not really like, we, I guess we don't really actually talk that much about this. Like, oh, you're now interested in the arts. Like, what happened to you? Why did you do this? We don't really talk about it. But I would consider them supportive, just in the sense that they didn't say no. They didn't say like, what are you doing? Like, you should get a proper job and so on.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, is that
so
like a general thing in Singapore, that people thinking
mm,
of arts as something you just do as a hobby? It's not practical. It's not something you should invest your time into. You should like invest in your career and do the real job. Like, is that the general culture?
yeah, I think so. I'm not sure how it is elsewhere, but I think so here. I mean, mm, like it wouldn't even be a consideration in the first place. Like should I do art or like a conventional job? It's just like, yeah, of course, for sure. You only see the conventional path. Um, Maybe some exceptions would be the people who actually go to like dedicated art schools. And then, so I think it would be more natural that they come out of that knowing that they want to be an artist.
Well, what's your dream for this side of your life? Like, do you have any sort of dreams, ambitions when it comes to crochet or to your art?
Um, I'm not sure if this can be considered as my dream, but what I just wish for is that I have enough time to fulfill all my excitement and enthusiasm. Like sometimes I have a little bit of a fear that like, what if I don't have enough time in my life to try all these different things and to try all these ideas I have. So yeah, that's mostly it. I don't have any concrete plans. I just like things to unfold themselves naturally. Um, I used to be quite judgmental of myself, like why am I lacking in focus? Why am I one moment I'm doing like watercolors and then next moment I'm doing embroidery. Yeah, like why don't I stick with something and become good at it? But over the years, I've tried very hard to change that part of my thinking, and I think it's because it's just who I am, and there's no point in resisting my natural inclination to want to try different things. And um, I just think that it allows me to learn more about myself. Like every different thing I try, I learn about a bit more about who I am by making something out into the world. Then I learn about what was inside me. Yeah, and so in that way, I just have to learn to let things have a natural progression.
I mean, when you look at your work, are you very critical of your skills, of like how it translated your idea into the, like what's on the paper or what's on your hook? Like, are you your worst critic?
Uh, that's interesting. Uh, I Not really. During the process, um, I would have a lot of self-doubt because of the lack of a clear vision or planning. Uh, but most of the time, I think once it's done, I quite I usually quite like what I've made, thankfully, and I think a lot of it um, comes out of luck because there's so many elements involved with making something and so many micro decisions, like really little bits of thinking every step of the way, like what yarn, what tension, should I introduce a new color, will it match? And then if it's able to come out in the end as something cohesive, then it's like, wow, I feel like really lucky. Yeah.
Well, I saw like a lot of your pieces have rainbows in it, and you use rainbow in your art a lot.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you?
Yeah, I think it was not conscious, but I think seeing rainbow and colorful things just makes me so happy. And so in that sense, I think I'm really greedy for color. It's like the more, the better. Like I can't stop adding colors, and yeah.
Well, you have this one painting. It's a mushroom, like rainbow mushroom.
Oh,
There's a little cave on the base. There's another little rainbow mushroom, and it's called Rainbow Mushroom Heaven. Tell me about it. I was just so fascinated by that piece. Like, what's that about for you?
Yeah. So maybe just a little bit of a background. That was created as part of a series called for a community exhibition called Pameron Postcard. So it invites anyone in Singapore, anyone at all. If you're a kid, you don't have to be a professional to submit a postcard size artwork. And then in the end, it's hung up in this massive hall where anyone can come and buy your art at an affordable price. So yeah, I made a few postcards in the rainbow theme. And for that one, I thought how nice it would be to be able to live in a colorful rainbow mushroom house and with no one around and really peaceful. Like the idea that that could be a safe space or quiet place, somewhere that you can go to just to be yourself.
Well, yes, you mentioned that you slow crochet, but how much time do you spend crocheting every day? Is that something you do every single day? Like, are there days when you don't do it?
Yeah, I think if I have an ongoing project, probably I would try to do it every day. Maybe I would, maybe on average, I'm not sure, like 2 or 3 hours, I think. And that's because I have to really discipline myself. Otherwise, I would like spend like as much time as I can. So now I came up with this practice where I actually use a timer. So I put 30 minutes, and every 30 minutes, I have to, like, no matter what, if I haven't finished a row or anything, I have to put it down and stand up and walk for 5 minutes. This is mostly, I think, part of the aging process. I realize like the body just can't cope anymore with too much stress, even though crochet is supposed to be relaxing, but I feel it's actually a little bit stressful for the body. So even just to maintain the health, not necessarily to improve the health, just to not fall sick. Like I have to take lots of breaks, and I have to learn to be moderate in what I do, which is really hard because I'm usually overly enthusiastic. Yeah.
Well, again, like coming back to the fact that your partner was the one who encouraged you to go back to art and, like pushed you in that direction. Do you think she ever regrets doing that? Because now they spend so much time crocheting and painting and all that stuff, and she's like out for that time.
Oh, like maybe she wished she could answer for herself, but I have to answer for her. That's really funny that you brought that up. So when it first happened, and then I actually left my full-time job, and then she said like, "Oh, but that wasn't what I meant. Like, you didn't have to quit your job." But like, oh, I thought that was what you meant. But it turned out well. As in, we're actually together like 24/7, like all day, all night. So she appreciates it when I'm like really engrossed in my art or my crochet, because at least I'll leave her alone. Otherwise, I'll just be like prancing around and yapping at her. And we do both appreciate some alone and quiet time, even if we're in the same space, just doing our own thing. So I think that just keeps us a bit more sane.
Well, I saw also these beautiful brownies, the blondies actually, that you bake.
Yeah.
How much do you like to experiment in the kitchen? Is that also part of your interests?
Yeah. yeah, I love being in the kitchen. So relative to my partner, she's the one really serious about cooking. It's like her main interest at the moment. For me, I'm just like I call myself the baby chef. So sometimes we're just in the kitchen at the same time, really small space. And then she gets the main chef table, and then I'll get the little space left on the side, which is fine because the cooking I do is really simple, although I do enjoy it. Once again, a lot just to try and maintain a sense of health as opposed to eating out. So I tend to cook really simple dinners, like with the Instant Pot pressure cooker. So I'll just chop a bunch of ingredients and put it into one pot, and then season it, and then put it in, and then it's done. Baking was a more recent thing because we're trying to eat some like keto desserts, like low carb, and it can be quite expensive if you buy it outside. So just recently I've started seeing if I can make it at home. So yeah, I love that as it still feels really creative and experimental. And I love that it's a break from my usual arts like crochet. Yeah, and it's really exciting just to try different recipes and see how it turns out.
Are there ever like cooking disasters or crochet disasters, or do you look at it all as like, it's just what it is? I'll try something else next time.
Yeah, I'm not so zen like that. I wish I was. Yeah, I'm very like, I can't take failures. Like, why does it have to fail? So there are so many failures with my crochet, and maybe that's one of the reasons that it's so slow. Because like if you don't follow a pattern and you don't have a good vision and you just try and run with it, chances are, like in my case, there are a lot of things that don't work. Like I made a jacket for my mom. I didn't really know what it was going to be like. Then I spent like days like making a sleeve, and it just looked so off and wonky, and it just looked like a Frankenstein. And it was I felt really sad and grumpy that I had to frock the entire sleeve. Yeah, that happens to me so much, which makes me curious that I'm still able to stick to this crochet. Like me being so impatient and not accepting a failure. It happens so much, and yet I'm able to like
I wonder,
it and just go
like
on.
I often hear when people say that like, oh, you're so patient. I would never have patience to do this jacket or to do whatever, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's funny because I find myself like extremely impatient person. Yet when it comes to knitting, like knitting forces you to be patient, or like crochet, right? Like it's sort of like you don't have a choice. So it's like you have patience for that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a patient person. And also like I want to finish, like my impatience comes with the fact that like I want it to be done, right? So like I'll knit for a few hours.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm a patient person, it's because I want to get to the end of it, you know?
Wow. I relate so much to everything you said. Like that is so true. And yeah, it's so good to hear that from you, because I just thought maybe other people were just really patient people. And like I do occasionally think like, oh, this is amazing. This human is amazing. For how is it even humanly possible to like go stitch by stitch and finish this entire thing? I feel like it's a superpower sometimes when I look at it. Yeah.
I mean, it is sort of, you have, it's, you know, a hook and yarn and suddenly boom, and it's like an outfit, you know?
Yeah.
So what are you working on now? What's like, how far ahead do you plan? Do you have something planned for the rest of this year, or like you plan for the rest of the day? Like how far do you dream?
So in terms of crochet, that behind is what I was working on at the moment. Yeah, I don't really plan that much ahead. Yeah, just I guess I'm lucky enough to have this little bit of time that just when I get to it, I'm able to think what I feel like doing at the moment, which sometimes involves a bit of like even just such a simple thing like what should I do? So lame, but maybe sometimes I don't actually know what I want to do. And then I would just have to take a bit of a quiet time to listen to my inner voice to try, just to have an idea. But currently, other than crochet, I'm quite excited about learning this other new skill, which is sewing. I'm reading a book about sewing. I'm not sure if that's the best way to go about it, but I have this really thick book, just everything about sewing, and then I'm just going through every page. Also chanced upon a Japanese book with some sewing patterns in it, which maybe is a bit crazy, like to learn sewing, but also have to go through this material in Japanese, which I do not understand. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, trying to learn sewing and maybe one day soon to be able to make my own dress.
Well, I mean, is that the dream about why you want to learn this new skill to like create your own wardrobe?
So I'm not sure if it sounds a bit strange, but one day when I was crocheting, I had this idea for a top, and then I thought, oh, maybe I can put like a big lacy sleeve, and then I thought like, oh, wouldn't it be better if I use like real lace rather than crochet? Maybe the crochet lace, I'm not sure how fine it can be because of the limitations of the yarn. And then it led me to think like, oh yeah, all this while I've been using crochet to create the base fabric, which for the garment construction, but what if I just got existing fabric and then join them together? Like maybe if I did that in tandem with crochet, it could give me a different satisfaction. Like crochet is like very intricate, and then it creates very beautiful textures. But maybe for the impatient side of me, I can just like sew something together as well, and then like have feel very rewarded in between the process.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, because if you are such a multimedia artist when it comes to painting, like I feel like you can combine crochet with sewing easily and make some amazing garments.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I would love to do that. And maybe I will try that idea with the sewing a sleeve onto a crochet piece. Yeah.
I mean, I can't wait to see what you're going to come up with next, because I feel like your imagination just has no limit.
Oh, thank you. So kind of you.
My only concern with acquiring another hobby is always that it's all new supplies and it all takes a lot of room, and it takes a lot of time. So it's like another rabbit hole to fall into.
Yes, totally. Like in terms of like those boxes I mentioned where I keep my things, now I have to think of where I'm going to keep my sewing stuff. I have to do some magic in the house.
Well, thank you so much, Dot. I loved meeting you and I loved talking to you. It was really delightful.
Thank you. It was so awesome.